I love that feeling that you start in such a small space, in a cottage, and you ring the bell, somebody opens the door, and the space sort of grows and grows. It's like a maze in a way.
I think lots of visitors get an upset feeling when they go to galleries or museums that they don't know who the things are by, or they don't know what something means. You come here and you enjoy it. You find things you like about it and find what's interesting. It's not a sort of composition of knowledge or art history. It's how to live with art and how to have art make a difference to your day.
When actually first time you visited Kettle's yard?
It is really, really hard to remember because it seems like I've been visiting for ages, you know, with different people over decades. But I think it must be the very late 70s. It struck me then, even all those decades ago. What I really love about it is the light is sort of everywhere.
Yeah, when we were painting, for example, in the cupboard, and I took quite a few photos of actually the shadows changing over the course of the day. It's fabulous, things which are happening, and the light catches the glass of objects.
And you just sort of notice the outside. You know, it's a whole house about the outside being inside.
You mentioned in the past that actually it feels like a seaside house.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's through the paintings or through the objects, the stones. As you said it, I could feel it, that it does feel like a seaside house without a sea outside.
Yeah, it's quite extraordinary. And I think it also feels like a North African house because it has white walls. And although now we've all got white walls, it's a kind of odd thing, you know. If you go back even a few decades, everybody had wallpaper. That's right. And painted their walls a colour. So to have an entire house that's white is very seasidey, it's very African and kind of timeless and geographically floaty somehow. The funny thing about this whole making interventions is that I never thought for a moment Andrew would want something and Inga would enable something that would be sort of semi-permanent or, you know, actually in the fabric of the house. Andrew talked a lot about this cupboard, a kind of corner cupboard, a triangular cupboard, that he said, oh, would I paint something inside this cupboard? It's a corner cupboard and it's right next to the pewter plate with the lemon on it, you know, that's bouncing off the Miro, you know, with that conversation about spots of yellow that Jim Eade was terribly well known for. So it seemed like it was a cupboard that was tantalizingly near an important conversation that happens. So I said, yes, I'll do it. When we came, I had absolutely no idea what I was going to paint before I did it. But I saw the hook. I thought, oh, well, I'll do a hanger. And then I thought, well, you've got a hanger, got to hang something on it. And all those conversations are swirling around in my head about fabric, about African fabric, about the hidden stories and the hidden histories and the hidden people that thread in and out of Jim and Helen's life, especially in Tangier, are in that piece of cloth that I painted hanging on the hanger that's hanging on the hook. You know how people always want me to do now, people in drawers? You know, I love to do it, but people always asking me, will I do it? And of course I do it. Usually I have the drawer in my studio, and in between making paintings on canvas or whatever, I think, oh, I kind of know the person I want to paint now, and I start one of those drawers, and sometimes they sit there for a couple of months and then I might finish it. But I usually have the drawer in the studio. But of course, this drawer in Kettle's yard is a drawer in the dining table, like an oval dining table that Jim and Helen had in Hampstead. I'm not sure if they took it to Tangier, but anyway, they had it in their Hampstead house and they had it in this house. Clearly, they were not going to give me the drawer to take to Preston to paint. So I got a template and made on a piece of wood this tiny painting of a man who was kind of just there. You know, you could shut the drawer and you'd never know he was there. You open the drawer and it's just half open. You can peep in and see some of the things that might have been left in a drawer. You know, a sweet wrapper, a stamp, a bit of colour, a bit of string, you know, that sort of thing. I'm kind of fond of it because in itself, the painting is a little bit like a sweet or a pudding or a dessert. But it's quite unlike the ones I usually do. Usually the portrait fills the drawer and it's, in a sense, has a huge presence. And this time it's a kind of really almost secret thing. Months and months and months ago, when Andrew showed us the house, there was this kind of rather odd, almost folded concertinaed rug on the wall that no one seemed to know that much about or was that interested in. I rather liked it. Anyway, so they took this rug down and other people painted other paintings and installed them and took them away, and then it came to my turn to do it. And I painted another carpet. It's a carpet made up of many other carpets. A carpet looks as if it's got stitching in. It has some East African patterns in it, some of the patterns that are in the carpets in the house, all kind of stitched and collaged together. Although it's a painting, it's a kind of collage of images. The thing that takes center stage is the purple radio, because it seems to me this is the kind of house where absolutely music would be playing, records on the record player, or sound from the radio. So it's a sort of sound piece but it doesn't make any noise. It's a conversation with the rugs all through the house and a conversation with the rug that Andrew took down.
Do you remember when we visited together for the first time? We were both sort of intrigued about the size of the kitchen, how sort of small and intimate it is. We were privileged to look inside to the space, which is, of course, not open to visitors, but such an important place for the volunteers and staff prepare things to keep the house exactly the same, to prepare the flowers, lemons. So I sort of felt that it would be nice to open it up to visitors, but not in a way that they could intrude on that space, but actually through sound, introduce them to that space. The piece is really layered, the way how it's composed. It was important for me to put the ambience of the kitchen first, and then introduce those more close-up sounds of chopping, cutting the flowers. I think people, when they come to visit Kettle's yard, when they pass at the kitchen, they might get glimpses of just kitchen, sound of the kitchen, the ambience amplified, the clock. Maybe it will make them think about their own kitchens, how they're using it, and different memories which are attached to kitchen. But if they have the chance encounter, they might hear the poem, but they might not. So I thought that was sort of quite nice, that is bringing that chance encounter to this audio piece to experience. Do you remember during our visit we were looking around different possibilities where we could hide some interventions, and when we were downstairs in the space, we opened one of the drawers and there was this beautiful lining paper with pattern with yellow, grey and black. And you said, "Oh, Magda, you must make a drawer, one of the drawers which sort of relates to that. So yes, I was sort of thinking about maybe creating a pattern, but then somehow I sort of thought that it would be nice to use again some of the photos which I took when I was recording in the kitchen. One of the photos was just of lemons and vessels which are there to divide the flowers into little bouquet. And I just sort of like really very much how the light is in that kitchen. So I thought that bringing that bit of the space again from the kitchen to the drawer, printing it on very thin Japanese paper, which is very much like what the material which you put as a lining paper in the drawer, but I overprinted the photographic image with the pattern of the roses which are also used in exhibition in slightly bitter installation.
Ages ago, I can't even remember the date now, I made jelly mold pavilions for Liverpool. I think actually talking about it the other day, it was like 2009, 2010 it got shown. Something like that. But I wonder now whether I made that whole jelly mold thing, which really sort of took off in all sorts of different ways, because years before I'd seen Jim and Helen's jelly molds, tiny, beautiful little jelly molds, sitting on the shelf upstairs. Anyway, whether I remembered it or not, on this recent sort of project, I saw those tiny jelly molds and thought how amazing it might be if I could bring the tiny one from my installation, put it on not quite the same shelf, not in quite the same place, but have it having a conversation with his. You know, after lots of discussion, we decided to put it next to this wonderful black, not a vase, what would you call it, a pot, I suppose. And so the gold and the red ochre jelly mold kind of is offset against the black pot. And at a certain time of the day, especially in high summer, the light just touches the gold. I have this kind of fantasy that when it comes the time for the team here to wrap up my jelly mold, they'll accidentally put Jim's in the, parcel as well.